Good morning, good evening, or good night, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you're watching from. My name is Evelyn McAleer. I'm spiritual mentor, speaker, and author of A Life You Want and Effortless. And today on episode 5 of The Woman's Journey, I am joined by a beautiful lady, Bernie Allen. Bernie is a mentor. She has been an inspirational speaker all over the world, inspiring thousands of people, an author, and creating now a wealth of information for business owners to help them succeed to the next level in their business. So I'm delighted to be joined by this beautiful lady today. Bernie, you are most welcome.
Thank you very much, Evelyn. And thank you for that lovely introduction. You said it all in one breath.
Inspiration. We'll be guided today. Bernie, confidence is a huge thing for you and what you help people with in personal life and in business, and to overcome blockages and fears that are preventing people from moving forward. But before we get to that aspect of business, can you take us on your journey, please, from a young girl in the north of Ireland here, heading out into the world, and previously, before that, going through the school time? I know you had a tragic bit of an accident that happened to you as a youngster that may have knocked your confidence. Can you share that with us, Bernie, please?
Yes, of course. You're right, Evelyn. Whenever I was about 8 years old, I got, my whole face was completely burnt and scalded. I had an accident at home as a child. I was making tea, and I pulled the teapot down around my face. Now, in Ireland, we have teapots and they're this size because everybody's always at the door to get a cup of tea. So that's the size of the teapot, and it was full. And I tripped and the whole tea came down from my head, down my face, down my neck and over my shoulders. So I nearly died because of shock. Apparently there's a thing here in your brain, and once the shock gets to there, you can die. But being a child, I didn't understand anything like that. Was in hospital for over a year. I was blind. I lost my sight. I thought I'd never see again. And my face looked like a monster, an absolute monster. And one of my sisters told me one time, Evelyn, that whenever they look at the guy, I never know his second name, you call him Simon, and he was the guy that was in the Falkland Wars and got completely burnt on his face. Simon, the name might come to me. And my sisters one time saw him on the television, and she says to me, Bernie, do you see that guy's face? Well, that's what you looked like, only worse. And that was the only thing that I ever was able to compare how badly I was burnt. And I was very, very, very blessed. I now know it was a blessing that I never needed skin graft done. They literally just peeled my skin off every single week, and then they put antiseptic powder. I used to think it was talcum powder, and I used to think, oh, I don't want that stingy talcum powder on my face. And that's all they did. I didn't get any skin graft at all, and I'm very, very, very blessed. And about 5 months in, they took the bandages off, and they told my mother she'll either see or not see, and that's it. And thank God I was able to see. So that was a terrible journey for me, but it also was a terrible journey for my mother and for to watch her child. You know, now that I'm a mother myself, you understand what she would have went through. So a lot of poverty at home. Mommy had 8 children, you know, and the only money that was coming through the door was daddy's wages. So you don't have to be a mathematician to work it out. You know, one salary coming through the door to look after 8 children. It just doesn't mathematically work out correctly. So then we were all huddled together in a little small house, and, you know, 3 bedrooms in the one house for 8 children and 2 adults. In fact, there was 3 adults because my granny came to live with us as well, and she wasn't well. We brought her in too. I don't know how we did it. But through that stage, I was very heavily bullied, you know, through that stage. My face was terrible. My teeth used to stick out the front, and my head was all shaved because I lost all my hair, and I was bald. And the children really, really, really gave me a bad time, like at school, bad time. And I used to beg my mother to keep me off school and don't send me, don't send me. And God bless her, some days she didn't send me because I'd cried that much. And then other days she would have sent me. And then I was off school for over a year, being in hospital. And I missed so much school, you know, and especially probably in the important years where it's all the years that you learn all the stuff that you need to do for the foundations for the rest of your life. So bullying happened then, and I didn't know it was bullying. So you start putting all these little, now that I know what I know, and one of my mentors, Dr. Tom Barrett, he says, who put the jam in your donut? And, you know, they put the jam in my donut. So you start believing all that stuff. And I sort of grew up the teenage years believing I was ugly. In fact, if I tell you the truth, it was only till about maybe 10, 12 years ago that I still thought I was ugly. You know, so that was embedded so deep and deep rooted. Ugly, stupid, fat, all of the things, they stay with you. That's who put the jam in your donut. And then my journey started then when I went out to work. You know, as soon as I could finish school, what hour do I leave school? What time am I getting out at? 16, right, ready to go to work now, you know. And that was and like I was, and in the home, we were all abused in the house. We were all beaten. Like then times your daddy beat you. If you did something wrong, you got a smack. If you did something really wrong, like stay out past 7:30 in the evening was something that was really wrong, and you got the belt. And like when you look back now, we were an abused family, but you didn't know it. That's all you knew, you know. So I know I can sympathize and empathize with people that have abuse in their family, both sexually and mentally and physically. And I know exactly where they're coming from. And people will say, Bernie, you know, do you say them things? I go, yeah, because only if you've walked a mile in someone's shoes do you actually know what that person feels like. And if you don't, you can't say I know what you feel like. You can't say it unless you've actually walked in someone's shoes.
Bernie, thank you very much for sharing that. Do you feel then, and then that's followed you on then perhaps into married life? Because I know now what we know now, and looking back, how we create and manifest. Absolutely. And all that belief within you, did it have an impact then following on?
1,000,000%. It was, I found the pattern. In fact, I only found the pattern maybe about 18 years ago, you know, but before that I didn't know, because I was so used to mental abuse. That's what I was drawn towards, because I thought that was the norm. That's just how people treat people. So my first I got married when I was 17. So I left school at 16 and I was married at 17 because my partner who I married, he was my boyfriend when I was 15. And I know now that I got married to get out of the family home, thinking I was running away from, but I was running into it because there was alcohol abuse in the home as well. And the guy that I married was an alcoholic. He was a mental abuser, and he was an alcoholic, and he was jealous. So them three things were, but you see, because I thought I was ugly, I didn't understand what he was jealous of. But when I look back at my photographs and my videos that people took then on the big cine cameras and whatever, I'm looking going, oh my God, I was all right. Like, I was good looking. So I now can see what he could see, but I couldn't see it then. So that happened then. Then that relationship obviously broke down because it wasn't going anywhere. Next relationship I got into, the exact same thing happened, where it took a while, but then it was the mental abuse. It's your fault, and you did it. And then I used to always say, maybe I did do it. Maybe I did make them feel that way. And that pattern, you're quite right. The pattern, just until I could see the pattern, until, you know, I was able to say, hold on a minute now here, I can see what's going on here. Then that was the only time that I could change my life around.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's, as people say, if you have a drink problem, it's only then when we admit to ourselves, or when we get enough teachers. You know, perhaps your father wasn't good enough, perhaps the kids at school weren't good enough, the first husband, the second. We have, you know, sometimes we have to hit that rock bottom before we think, aha. So then the big turnaround to Bernie.
The big turnaround, all them aha moments, Evelyn, I promise you, I take them right now as gifts. I am so pleased because the amount of people that I help who I can actually say these words. I'm doing the same. I've got goosebumps all down my spine.
I'm all goosebumps. The hair's standing me on.
I know. So I said, when I'm saying to somebody, I know exactly how you feel. They know I know. And then we have a different relationship altogether. Like in my business now, I coach CEOs of companies right down to somebody who's starting off their own home-based business. It doesn't matter if they've got something in there, who put the jam on their donut, until that is released, and then they go, oh, that was actually holding me back. I had one client and he didn't know that he couldn't do a presentation to his staff because he was told one time, sit you down, you're stupid. And that was all. And when I got that out of him, he was a different man, you know. But because I can feel it, so I take them all as blessings. Every single one of them. And some people say to me, like the abuse that you came through, Bernie, how can you call that a blessing? And I say, well, I wouldn't be the girl or the woman or the lady who I am today if I didn't have all of them things happening to me and realize that that's not right. Nobody knows what's right if they don't know what's wrong. You don't know dark from light. If you don't know there's dark, you can't call it light. So these things over here, you'll always find gurus, mentors, spiritualists, anybody have always come through a journey. Always, because it's a gift to help them come through their journey. And my journey started probably about when I was about maybe about 25, when I started on a search for, this can't be right, you know, hold on a minute. And I started reading books. I never read a book in my life, Evelyn, in school. Never. Oh, that's a lie. I read one book and it was called A Kestrel for a Knave. And I was blessed when I went to do my exams. All the questions was on A Kestrel for a Knave, the one book that I read. I just, honest to God, I couldn't believe it. So I didn't like to read. I left school. I didn't know there was a difference in did and done and seen and saw. On the people contradicted me when I was on the stage talking to 10,500 people, and somebody says to me, if you had done something more than said it, did it, and I said, what are you talking about? I didn't even know. But it didn't stop me becoming successful all around the world reading books. And I didn't like reading books, but I went to a seminar one day and a guy on the stage says, hands up people that don't like reading books. And I put my hand up. He says, right, okay, well, you're missing out in the wonderful world that's out there. And he said, so find a book, doesn't matter what it is, find a book that you think you'll like. Doesn't have to be on a topic or whatever that you like, just something that you'll like. And decide how many pages a day you're going to read. So I says, right, okay, I'm going to read 3 pages. I wasn't pushing my luck, like, I'm going to read 3 pages, right? So he says, and then you read 3 pages every day till the book's read. But he says, what will happen is, halfway through the book, you'll start enjoying it. And you'll do more than 3 pages. And then you'll read a chapter and whatever. And I said to myself, I know I won't, because I'm not a reader. I know I won't. So I started it off, my journey, and my house is full of books from top to bottom. I never, ever, if you look around my desk, I never go anywhere without books. And there's a lot of people like me. to a lot of people. So I started educating myself. I went round the world. I went to big mentors that are all positive thinkers and motivational speakers and inspirational speakers. And I met them. I bought all the material. I met a guy called Dr. Tom Barrett, who is a philosopher, and he works for the President of the United States of America on the consulate, and he took me on, and he was my mentor, and he mentored me, and he said that whenever I went and spoke with him on the stage one time, he says, Bernie, you're just an absolute rough diamond, and don't let anybody polish it. And I'll never forget that. He says, never let anybody polish it. He says, because everything that you do comes from your heart, and everybody will know that. So that's why I'm a no bullshit coach. I don't want to polish this diamond. So I went on my journey, and then about 25 years ago, I started coaching. And I started coaching people from all walks of life. And I didn't know I was good at being able to coach them and whatever. But the results that came back filled my heart till it was bursting. And people will say, how do you know that? And because you know, I'm very spiritual as well. You near enough know the answers before they even say anything, but you have to allow them to say it, because the spirit comes in as well and gives me guidance all the time. So so coming from the rat race into a nice place was a great, from living it rough, losing my sight, nearly dying, and the troubles in Northern Ireland. I've had tragedy after tragedy after tragedy happen to my family and me in the troubles of Northern Ireland, right to abusive marriages, right to being one parent family, all of that stuff. Yeah, I am one of the most happiest, contentest people, because I worked more on this than I did on the outside world.
Perfect. And as someone would say, after hearing all that, you could almost write a book about it. But Bernie wrote the book, and the book is How to Succeed in Business and Life. Bernie, have you the book there with you?
I've always my book here, because I'm always scribbling in it. So this is my little How to Succeed in Business and Life. And the most important thing is, what's holding you back? And this little book came from the stages of the world, because I actually did a presentation one time, and it was the presentation was all about how we book ourselves into a camp. We go on a little holiday, but we don't know we're going on a little holiday, on our holiday, and we book ourselves into a camp, and the camp's called Camp Someday. And someday you're going to do this, and someday you're going to do that, and someday you're going to do the other. Now, when you're in that camp, you'll meet other people, because all those other people have joined there as well, because someday they're going to do something someday. And in that camp, they have other clubs, and you happen to join them clubs as well. And they are the Gonna Do Club, the Whenever Club, the Abbott Club. But you don't understand. And then there's about 10 clubs, and then the most dangerous one of all is the Me, Myself, and I Club. And when it's all about you, when everything's about you, me, I, that's when life is not good. That's when life is not even. That's when shit happens in your life, and you're wondering, what's the matter with me? Because you're thinking about you. So the book's only 90 pages long, and there's exercises in there that you'll do. What club are you in and why? And it's everybody's just loving it.
Well, do you know what I loved when you were speaking there? Even though we only live down the road from one another, when you pronounce C-A-M-P, you call it camp, and I would call it camp. I was going, what's a camp?
A camp and a car, right? But because I speak on the stages, I have to get rid of that, because people say, what's a car? What's a short? Like, what's a windy? What's luck? I used to say on the stage, and when you look over there, and they thought it was the word luck, L-U-C-K. So I have to now say look and car and window and shirt. But I know exactly where you're coming from.
There was someone in my house the other night, and they talked about there's a new hugging curtain. And I was like, what's this? What's this thing now? It's a hugging curtain. And I says, well, what do you do with it? Well, you put your arms into it and you hug the other person. I says, a curtain? He says, oh, is that a C-O-U-R-T-A? And I said, a hugging curtain.
Absolutely. And living in Lurgan, one of my sisters is really, really, really Lurganisms, as I call it. Yeah. And sometimes she speaks to me and I said, what did you say? and we end the sentence with, so she did, so he did, so he said.
And so it is.
And so it is. And so it is. And so it is.
Brilliant. So Bernie, you're doing absolutely fantastic. That's why I wanted to share how you came from a place of no confidence, no self-esteem, no self-worth, no money, no real outlook in life, to flipping that about and going, right, that's it. And finding the money, you know, to get these things to move life on for yourself, to become, I'm sure forgiveness had to be a huge part of this journey for you as well.
Massive. Not easy. Like anybody's listening in here saying, it's all right for them too, but they don't understand. They're in the Abbott Club, but you don't understand. If you had my situation, you wouldn't be sitting there saying you can forgive. And they're right. They're absolutely right, because nobody has told them that until you, or even help them, until you forgive. You're not forgiving that person, you're forgiving yourself. You're actually allowing yourself to live, because you are important and you matter. And when you're not forgiven, you can't feel that feeling inside yourself that you matter. And that's by forgiving. You're not doing the person or persons the favor, you're doing yourself the favor. So you can forgive. You don't have to forget. You don't have to forget. You can forgive and let it go. And then it'll come back in again every now and again. And then you have to do that again. You forgive and you let it go. And then eventually you'll say to yourself, my God, it's about 6 months before I've thought of that. And it gets longer, does never go away. If anybody tells you that it goes away, it does never go away. You just are able to handle it a lot better.
Perfect. So Bernie, where are we at now? You're developing wonderful programs now for the business world. Tell us a wee bit about that.
I am just about to launch, actually September, I'm launching now for January of next year. And where I will mentor, it's usually women, but men are invited into the group as well. And I mentor about 10 or 15 women, and we all have it's a private group. And I have a 4-month course where I take them from 0 to hero, wherever it is, coaches, mentors, trainers, authors, business owners, small business owners, big business owners. Basically, there's something that they need help or guidance with, or they are where they want to go and they now want to get all of this stuff that they know and put it together to bring them to the next 6-7 figure income. So I do that on a 4-month course. I only can take 15 people because that's so intense. And then I also am launching a self-help course for people that can't afford to go into the big membership group. Then I have a self-help course where they can go and do it all themselves. And they can, and then I have a private of three that I do, and I have people who book me privately, and they take me on for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, or a year to be, look, Evelyn, anybody who wants to succeed in business or in life need to realize that they need help. They need a coach. They need someone to run things by. They need to be able to offload. You know, if you've got staff or you've got problems with your business or you've problems with your, say you work a family business or whatever, you can't go and tell your wife, partner, husband, whatever, but you can tell your coach, and your coach can help you develop. Until I started getting coaches, that's when I became successful, when I searched out for coaches. So 3, 6, 9, 12 months people book me for, and that's it. And that's what I do. And they just go over to my website, bernieallen.com, and they book a free 30-minute discovery call with me to discover whether I can work with them or not, because some people don't fit the way I coach. People are looking mentors. I'm not here as a mentor. I'm here as a coach that has been there, done it, wore the t-shirt, threw it out, and is now a very, very successful entrepreneur. So that's why we have to do a discovery call.
Brilliant. And anybody that wants to get their hands on your book, where can they find it?
BernieAllen.com.
Wonderful. Well, I just want to let people know that during this interview, it's a pre-recorded interview. The first time it ever happened to me, and the first time it's ever happened to Bernie, that our nephews, and we have separate nephews, both came in, and we have had to pause this interview, but it has been perfect. Bernie, I want to say thank you so much for giving me your time, for sharing your woman's journey. And I hope, and I am sure that it's brought inspiration, motivation, and maybe that aha moment to someone that's been sitting waiting. Thank you so much, Bernie.
My absolute pleasure.